Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here and welcome to B-Ball Breakdown. Are you into fantasy? Because DraftStreet.net has a really cool weekly fantasy league, free to sign up, and you can win some serious money. Also, if you missed it, we have a brand new weekly show featuring Ronnie Nunn, who is the head of the NBA officials, as we go through calls that you suggest. And if you do suggest it and we use it, we'll give you a big shout out on air. Well, now let's talk a little bit about the Pacers and the Pistons, because it's clear that the Pacers have a better, more clever offensive system right now, and they also execute the details and the fundamentals a little bit more closely. And you'll see that there are some similarities, and the Pistons do some of the things that the Pacers do. However, without the attention to detail, you get widely different results. And I also invited Ian Levy of HickoryHigh.com to come and give us some of his insights into the offense and defense of the Detroit Pistons. So we'll sneak him in here as well to give you some good insights. And definitely check out his website at hickory-high.com. Terrific stuff, stats-based analysis. Don't miss it. The Pistons have your basic single-double set, but watch how neither Josh Smith nor Andre Drummond set an actual screen for Billups. This play doesn't work well without good down screens. Detroit also runs a zipper cut that is supposed to flow into pick and roll. Drummond misses the call and tries to screen on the weak side. He does get there, but Jennings gets no lift on his shot. All pro teams run simple high pick and roll, and the Pistons encounter some issues with spacing. But it's not because of their personnel, it's the execution. By keeping Monroe near the high post on the weak side, it puts his man in perfect position to help without consequences. Monroe should be down by the baseline where there is an opening. Instead, West can help and Jennings only gets an off-balance shot.
When they went out and got Josh Smith, and talent was the goal, upgrading the talent level. So now they have these three front-court players, Drummond, Monroe, and Smith, and they're the three most talented players. They're going to want to play them together as many minutes as they can, and none of those guys is a particularly adept outside shooter, and so it makes things much easier on the defense. The defense is able to collapse the interior on them. One of the things that really jumped out was they had some options. They had some things out of horn sets and some other nice screens and curls that seemed to work really well. But it seemed like they only worked when the other guys on the floor could all shoot and could all attack a closeout off the dribble. And so Caldwell Pope, he's going to have to not just knock down shots. He's going to have to be able to attack closeouts, and he's going to have to be able to do a little bit off the dribble too.
Here's our old friend Horns. But beyond the initial screen and roll, however, there is none of the familiar movement by the four players off the ball. The Pistons utilize one of my favorite sets, the high post split. After the post entry, Josh Smith is supposed to set his man up with a V-cut, and Jennings is supposed to screen Paul George. This doesn't happen, and the offense goes up in a free-for-all that does ultimately get a great look at a corner three. Detroit also has a sideline screen and roll package. Watch where Josh Smith is standing, however. He should be farther over along the three-point line, where he is now allows his man Paul George, one of the absolute best defenders in the league, to help on the ball and still recover to his man. As a result, Billups can't turn the corner and settles for a long three. This action does allow Monroe to roll to the hoop and get good position to eventually finish with a layup in traffic. Another sideline screen and roll, this time screening the ball screener first, which is always a good idea. However, Jennings misses a wide open Josh Smith, instead bobbling the ball and turning it over on a travel call. Perhaps there's a residual Lawrence Frank influence, because here's a hybrid Princeton set where the wing passes to the top and gets a back screen near the elbow. However, Josh Smith isn't as comfortable going to his right on the screen and roll, settling for the long jump shot. Moving over to the Pacers offense, here's a UCLA cut for Watson that turns into a pin down and dribble pitch. This movement opens up the middle and a drive for a layup. One nice thing about the Pacers offense is that they will run the same set and move through different options.
In his third full season,
we caught Frank Vogel calling out Psycho, which may be in honor of Tyler Hansbrough, and it's a great set where they curl a cutter around an elbow screen, then run pinch post action off of it. The two-man game gets them another layup for Watson. They run the same play, but this time hit Paul George, who had curled around the initial screen and then got a double screen on the weak side. As you can see, George was on fire in this game. This is a sign of a well-drilled team, since they run the same set and go to the third and fourth options. Billups tries to help but leaves his man wide open in the corner. When the pass is fumbled, nothing is lost because all that movement opened up very deep post position for Roy Hibbert. Here's a set the Celtics used to use for Ray Allen, where Paul George can choose whether to use the David West down screen or the Lance Stephenson cross screen. When he takes the cross screen, the West down screen is for Stephenson as part of flex action. This movement got the Pacers 2 point-blank shots. The Pacers run horns much like the Pistons, but with much more movement, as the pick and roll then becomes a flare screen for the ball screener. This shot is like a layup for David West. Sometimes they'll move the corners up to the wings in horns, and look at this backdoor cut and pass by Mahinmi for the layup. The crucial part of the fourth quarter is where the Pacers finally took control of this wild game. The Pistons run a zipper cut to screen and roll, and Scola feels the need to hit Drummond in the back, opening up a 3 by Josh Smith. During a huge 18-3 run in the fourth, the Pacers got great shot after great shot. After the wild Bynum floater, watch how Drummond should have picked up Scola and Singler could have gotten Hibbert. It ain't perfect, but it's what you have to do in transition defense sometimes. The Pacers then run a simple post play, borrowing a cut from the triangle offense when the wing goes through and screens the weak side forward. Josh Smith doesn't react well to the screen, and Scola nails the shot. Firmly in control, the Pacers run some time before Paul George takes a heat check. Watch how Josh Smith does not try and box out. Had he gotten proper position, this save would have gone right to him. Instead, the Pacers get a second chance, and Jennings reaches in instead of hustling to close the gap. Josh Smith also reaches in instead of challenging the shot, and the Pacers get another layup. Meanwhile, the Pistons run an out-of-bounds play designed to force Singler's man to check the roller and get an open three. Problem is, Singler's man is Paul George, and the offense sputters. Stuckey misses a pass to Drummond, and Drummond should have cut to the hoop as well, since the rebound would have gone right to him. Facing a huge deficit, the Pistons turn to Monroe in the post. Watch his footwork on the spin move. He actually spins in place. His left foot should have come all the way around towards the front of the rim. As a result, Hibbert blocks the shot. However, when the ball swings, you can see why Indiana works so hard not to give up middle penetration, as it almost always gives up makeable shots. Another out-of-bounds play gets Jennings coming round for a nice pitch. However, he exposes the ball on the drive, enabling Donald Sloan to strip it cleanly, and this led to a fast break and free throws. Down 14 and the game in peril, they send Stuckey through, who takes a bad angle to try and cross screen for Josh Smith, and it's ineffective. Flex action here as they screen the screener, but the timing is thrown off because Stuckey doesn't immediately hit Drummond in the post and cut through. That said, isolating Drummond in the post versus Hibbert isn't in the Pistons' favor. While the Pistons should be in a hurry to get in their set and get a good shot, Josh Smith is walking and most certainly out of position as Detroit tries to run sideline screen and roll. In fact, he's so out of position that he brings his man right into the play, taking away any sort of penetration Jennings could have had. Here's the modified Princeton again, but watch how Josh Smith turns instead of setting a solid back screen. He also doesn't seem sure of his weak side position, and with shots like these, it's clear how the Pacers took control and won this game. So there you have it, sports fans. It remains to be seen if the Pistons can get their veterans to buy in, run those sets more carefully with more attention to detail, because if they can, they should get some better shots because the bones are there. On the flip side, the Pacers still have a Brian Shaw influence a little bit. I see some triangle offense fundamentals there, which is great to see, obviously. And I suspect they'll continue to get better at that and score a little bit easier to go along with that incredible defense that they have. They should compete for the upper echelons of the Eastern Conference. Well, stay tuned for lots more coming up. Don't forget, DraftStreet.net has a really cool weekly fantasy league. Free to sign up, and you can win some money. And also, don't forget at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You win,